Good evening and welcome to Fridays Live with me, Raj Nayak. The guest I have today is a gentleman, he is a sportsman, but most of all, he's a good human being. And I can vouch for that because he's also a dear friend. He's India's pride, he's a tennis legend. Please join me in welcoming Leander Paes. Lee, thank you for being here.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Cheerful.
Thank you. First of all, Lee, before I speak to you, I just want to apologize to everyone who's watching today. We are dealing with technology and we had a small glitch. So thank you for bearing with us and sincere apologies for starting a bit late, but both Lee and I were here. You have to blame it on Zoom or Facebook, whoever's problem it was. But thank you very much for being here. Lee, you celebrated your birthday 2 days back. It was fine. I mean, thank you for having invited me. I know it was a Zoom call, it was a Zoom party, but it was nice to celebrate it on Zoom. It was one of probably the first birthday I celebrated on Zoom.
Me too. Apart from all the amazing places we've been to around the world, whether it's in Wimbledon or Paris or Maldives or different places, a Zoom chat is the first time.
Yeah, and I was amazed. I mean, you had the entire tennis fraternity there, and I was surprised to see even the sports minister, Mr. Kiran Rijiju, and Mahesh Bhupati there. It was nice. I mean, I think it also shows how much people love you and how much they respect you and how much they care for you. So I won't take too much time. We've, as it is, kept the viewers waiting. First of all, I want to thank all our viewers who are watching. Thank you for coming week after week and watching Fridays Live. I noticed something new when I was going through all the comments. One of the things was, there are top fans. I mean, it suddenly showed me that X and Y is your top fan. So I decided that from this week, I'm going to name 5 top fans so that, you know, every week I won't be able to name everybody at a time. So top 5, so I'm going to name them. Gunjan Nandwani, Rahul Welde, then there is Jyoti Kasliwal, very, very, very dear friend of mine, Jyoti. Thank you for watching week after week, and every week I also watch your comments. And then there's Priyanka Chandok. I mean, Priyanka is a colleague of mine from the past, and it's her birthday today. Happy birthday, Priyanka. And speaking on that, my daughter's birthday today in the US, and Samira watches this show religiously. Samira, I hope you're awake. I will call and wish you after the show, but happy birthday to you. So Leander,
happy birthday to you. Yes. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, she went to a US Open with you, right?
Happy birthday to you.
She went to a US Open with you. I remember that.
That's right. She helped me win the US Open in 2015. The Nayak family is my lucky charm. To everybody out there, I have not lost one tennis match in my entire lifetime of knowing the Nayak family, whether it is Raj and Sagri at Wimbledon, whether it is Atu coming here in Bombay and watching, whether it is Samira at the US Open. I have a 100% winning record when the Nayaks are watching.
When the Nayaks are watching, good. I mean, that's nice. So Lee, it's nice. I mean, we will come back. I mean, there's so much to cover up today. So I want to start because I remember last year you came out with this hashtag One Last Roar. And one evening while we were speaking, you mentioned to me, you said, Raj, I'm an Olympic baby. I want to end my last thing with the Olympics. I remember you saying that. And I never got down to asking you at that time, why do you refer to yourself as an Olympic baby?
Well, I was conceived at the 1972 Munich Olympics, Raj. Both my parents are athletes. My mom basketball, dad field hockey. And during the 1972 Munich Olympics, during the Palestinian terrorist act where they took 12 Israeli athletes hostage, the games were shut down for 4 days, and no civilians were allowed into the Olympic Village. No athletes were allowed outside. And during those 4 days, I was conceived, and I was born with the genetics, born with these genetics that my parents have given me. Yeah.
Okay. I met your dad. I mean, doctor. He was an Olympian himself.
Yes, that's exactly right. I have a few anecdotes to actually show you. It's one of my proudest things that I've ever done is to play for the country, and dad and myself, both of us are Olympic medal champions in 2 different sports, but it's been a lifetime's journey to try and emulate my father.
Yeah. And he's a Goan, right? Paes is what? Goan?
That's right. So Paes is from South Goa, from Pulikanto, and that's where my paternal grandparents are from, where my father was born. And my mother, Jennifer, she's Bengali. She's from Kolkata. And ever since I was 6 years old, I have met Juliana, my stepmom, and she and my dad have nurtured me. I'm very lucky that all three of my parents have nurtured me my whole life and made me the man I am today.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous. I met Julie as well. I mean, I was fortunate enough to meet Julie as well. So Lee, so what age when did you decide tennis?
At the age of 12, growing up in Kolkata to a Bengali mother and to a Portuguese Goanese father, football was my main love. My genetics are, I'm 5'10", but I'm born with these big legs and I can run, I can sprint all day. And I am more talented in football than I'm at tennis. One, I feel that just the heritage and growing up in Kolkata gave me so much passion for sport. I was the mascot to my father's Indian national hockey team. So I learned all about team sport, Raj. So I loved team sport a lot more than individual sport, just because individual sport is really lonely. And back in the day, in the 80s, when I started, there was not enough finance to have an entourage. Like today, a Djokovic could have 7 or 8 people traveling with him. Or Serena Williams could have 8 to 10 people traveling with her. But when I started, I was all alone. There were not many Indians on the tour. I was the only one traveling on the tour. Ramesh Krishnan had just retired. Mahesh hadn't come along yet. So I was the only Indian out there traveling week to week. So it was very lonely. So when I was a kid, I started out with football. And at the age of 12, I spoke to my father and I said that, you know, I want to be an Olympic champion. And he said, well, in football, India is not doing that great. We're not qualifying for the Asian Championships, let alone the Olympics. So why don't you switch sport? So I said, which one should I do? And he said, what do you think? And just out of my mouth came tennis. And my father laughed, Raj, for 6 minutes. And till today, whenever I think of retiring, I always remember that laugh. So I asked him to find me the best tennis academy in the country. And I moved to Madras, to Chennai, to the Britannia Amritraj Tennis Academy. And I'm very grateful to the Amritraj family and to Britannia and to all our coaches for honing my skills. But that's where the journey started, in Madras, in Chennai, in 1986, on the 12th of May, just shy of my 13th birthday.
Did you ever ask your dad, football, I can understand him not recommending, why he never told you either hockey, which he played for India and India was at the top those days, or cricket? I mean, did you ever ask him this question ever? I mean, or you let it be?
I did, at that table when he asked me which sport, and I asked him, why not hockey? Why not cricket? I captained the school in both sports. Why not swimming? Why not track and field? I swim for school. I run for school. And he said that team sport has a lot of politics. And he said that in an individual sport, if you are the best, they can't take that away from you. And that's why I switched from my love of football and team sport to an individual sport.
So tell me, when was your first tour abroad?
I'll tell you about my first tennis tournament I ever played, because quite a unique story. I was 9 years old. I was the mascot of the Indian hockey team coming to Mumbai. And we had caught the Rajdhani train to come to Mumbai. And we were staying in Colaba, right behind the Taj Mahal Hotel with the national team. And they would play in Cooperage. That's where the hockey stadium was. But at the age of 9, Raj, I could already read the newspapers. And I pestered my father that this article in the newspapers in the sports section said there was a Bandra Gym tennis tournament. And I pestered him to let me play. And he said, but you don't even know how to play. I said, no, but I learned. And he said, you don't even know how to get there. I said, but you'll teach me. And he said, but I can't concentrate on your stuff. I got to, focus on the national hockey team stuff. I said, just show me how to get there. So my father, on the first day, took me to VT station in Colaba. And at the Victoria Terminus, he taught me how to buy my ticket. Back then, there were manual boards. There were no television boards. There were no electronic screens.
I remember.
He taught me.
I've traveled by those trains, so I know.
Exactly. Both sons of the soil. And he basically taught me how to get onto the train and which platform and come all the way down from Colaba, get off to Bandra station. And as you get off Bandra station, you come past the overpass and you walk straight down Turner Road and Bandra Gym's on your left-hand side. So 6 days of doing this, I would leave early in the morning before Dad would wake up, and I would fall asleep before he'd come back. but he'd leave me 100 rupees on my bedside table, and that was for my train ticket, that was for my vada pav, and that was for any lunch or water that I needed to buy on my lunch break here. But 6 days later, I was in the finals of the tournament, which I didn't know, and Dad accompanied me to Bandra Gym. And when we walked in, we saw all the trophies there. And I was so happy that I was actually going to win a trophy. I was playing for a trophy. And I beat Sandeep Kirtane in the final, 7-6, 6-7, 7-6, if I'm not mistaken. And I won an equivalent of, I think, about 2,500 rupees at the time. I was 9 years old and I thought I was the king of the world. But it came in a check form, Raj, and I didn't have a bank account. So I very gladly gave my father the check and I said, give me the cash. And he's like, what are you going to do with this? And I said, I'm going to buy my own ice cream factory. And once again, he laughed at me really hard. And when he took me down just outside Otters Club here in Bandra, and he asked me, if I'd like an ice cream. And I said, yes, I would. And he said, you know what? That ice cream factory, you're going to win many more matches. I said, all right, maybe not the ice cream factory. How about I get myself an apartment here when I grow up, right on the water? We're both, going boys. We love the water. And he said, you're going to win a lot of matches to get there. So I'm very happy today. I've worked pretty hard and I have myself a nice little apartment here in Bandra on the water.
Very nice, very nice. I mean, I've been there, so I know. I mean, it's a beautiful apartment, and I can imagine. And this is a story everybody has. When you started from scratch and you achieved something, it's a great feeling, especially for anybody. So I asked you. My question to you before was, so when did you first tour abroad? And because as a youngster, at those days, going abroad itself was a big thing.
I was 12 years old and I went to Hong Kong to play the Rice Bowl Championships. I was playing the under 12 and I got my passport and I was so excited to get my passport to be able to travel and represent the country. And I won my first under 12 Rice Bowl Championships for India in Hong Kong.
And then when did you play your first Wimbledon? Or one of
It took a few years, Raj. 12th of May, 1986, I went to Chennai. I trained for 5 years. And back then, Wimbledon and the French Open were shown on Doordarshan in black and white TV. And I know all about it because you are...
the semis and the finals they used to show, I remember. Yeah.
Exactly. And when I finally got to Wimbledon in 1989 for the first time, the colors got to me. I couldn't believe the colors were so rich. The greens, the purple, the flowers, the green grass was so rich and so beautiful that it kind of like, wow, Wimbledon looks much better when you actually play on it, when you're here in live watching it. And I think that's the beauty of tennis, is that when you watch tennis live, it is so magical. When you get to a stadium and you see the ambiance of a Philippe Chatrier Stadium at Roland Garros in Paris, or you get to Wimbledon and you watch Center Court at Wimbledon, or the modern architecture of the Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York, the Billie Jean King Center. The sport is an amazing medium to entertain people and bring happiness to people. And especially in the tough economies that we live in and the tough things that we go through, playing in those stadiums, when you go and travel to those stadiums live, Raj, and you so sweetly and graciously come to many of my matches to make sure the winning streak continues. But playing in the stadiums is fantastic. I've always been drawn to live performance, theater, sport. All live performance has a certain magical charm to it.
So your first Wimbledon was a bit junior, right? I mean, and then you were number one as a junior for some time, if I'm correct.
That's right. You've done your homework, Raj. And,
I'm not done my homework. I mean, this basics I know.
1990, I won Junior Wimbledon as a 17-year-old. I got to the finals of the Australian Open in 1990 in the juniors as well. And in 1990, I was number one in the world in the junior singles. So that's really when I first gathered the belief that I could be a professional tennis player. Before that, I thought I was all right, but I didn't really possess the really good tennis technique. My backhand was flawed. I was not very tall for a tennis player. The average height of a tennis player in the 80s was 6'1", whereas the average height of a tennis player today is 6'5". On a good day, I stand at 5'10". So as much as I have all the athleticism that's needed for singles play for a tennis player. All the tall guys do really well. Federer, Djokovic, Tsitsipas, Sasha Zverev, the new ones coming around. They're all, or even a Serena Williams, she's a tall girl. Venus Williams, tall girl. Muguruza, tall girl. So you've got to have a certain height for tennis, and I felt that would always kind of be a challenge for me.
And as a senior, which was your first tournament that you won?
So 1990, I was #1 in the world in the juniors. I was getting a scholarship from 17 different universities in America: UCLA, Stanford, Boston University, Harvard, Florida State. And as Samira went to UCLA, and I love the blue and gold, I always wanted to go and study at UCLA. But my coaches at the time, and also my manager at the time, a gentleman by the name of Mark McCormick, Mark watched my Wimbledon final in 1990, and he came up to my team at that time and asked if he could have a conversation with me. And the magical of Mark McCormick, he's the one who founded IMG International. Arnold Palmer, Mark McCormick came together and founded IMG, the International Management Group. And I was very blessed to have him as a manager for 10 years. He basically said to me that you're going to give up your dreams for college, because with the talent that you have, I am going to get you into the top rankings in the world. I'm going to make you a professional tennis player, but more importantly, I'm going to teach you the business of sport. So I gave up the dream for college and I moved to Florida. I was Mark's neighbor. In fact, he bought me my first house in 1991, and I hadn't even signed one contract with him then yet, Raj. And he bought me my first house with his own money. And after that, he signed my first contract. And Gavin Forbes, who was my manager, then actually paid that back straight away. And it's amazing how much I've learned through my sport, through my tennis. But I think one of the best things I did was to turn professional after being #1 in the world in the juniors. I think every athlete has their own route, but the first tournament that I won in the seniors took me about 5 years after that. I was 17 going on 18 when I was #1 in the world in the juniors. And I believe the first tournament that I really ever won in the seniors was when I was 23. I played Davis Cup in Fréjus in the south of France. And that's when we beat the formidable Henri Leconte, Arnaud Butch, Rudolph Gilbert, and Fabrice Santoro was on that team. Guy Forget was on that team. It's considered the greatest upset in Davis Cup history. But it took 5 years from being #1 in the world in the juniors to turning professional and working for 5 years to eventually prove in the senior career that I could actually follow up and back up what I had done as a junior,
So you played with almost all the big names that's there in tennis. I mean, how many years now? I mean, you've been
30
playing
years
now. How many years?
30 years.
30 years. I mean, very rarely that you have tennis players playing for 30 years. I mean, what is your secret formula? How did you manage 30 years, Lee?
I think a little madness.
You don't look 30. You don't look 30, my friend.
That's too funny. But I think you got to be a little crazy to have a career of 30 years, especially in an individual sport like tennis, to be able to not only invent yourself, but be able to reinvent yourself over and over and over again. And one of the reasons that I look up to you and respect you so much is that you're a self-made man. And right from your pedigree of freedom fighters in your family, Raj, you basically created that opportunity for yourself where not only you became a huge media mogul and pioneered through television in our country, but you have the courage and the cojones to go out there and actually be a self-entrepreneur, the way you do it. So I think that's one of the reasons we recognize, because when I left home at the age of 12th of May, 1986, I embarked with just a dream to replicate and my father's Olympic medal. And it's been a long, hard journey. But over that time, Raj, I've had a tremendous team behind me. I've had coaches, I've had trainers, I've had physios, I've had managers. I've had my father as my own personal doctor. But my team has stuck with me over those 27, 28 years. If I can just name a few to give them some props, because I wouldn't be the man I am without them. My tennis coach, Rick Leach, has been with me 28 years. My fitness trainer, Dave Herman, has been with me 27 years. My traveling companion and confidant, Sanjay Singh, has been with me 30 years. And my father has been my doctor since I was a little boy. Also, James Dicker, who manages all my work, he's been looking after me for 20 plus years. So, you know, in every human being's life, we have godfathers, or we have godmothers, or we have people who we learn from, and a team that we build. It's very important to build a team around you of not like-minded people necessarily, but having individuals who are students of life, individuals who always want to grow. And in fact, if they have different points of views and different opinions, it works even better, because then the sum of two individuals is greater than two. Everybody in a team environment coming together makes the team even greater. So I've had some great people in my life, and we've all continued to keep pushing each other up to grow. And that's how, you know, winning Grand Slams is done.
Yeah, I mean, I met Sanjay. I met Sanjay a couple of times. I mean, in London and then in New York as well. So tell me, you won what? 18 Grand Slams?
Something like that.
Huh?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
My dad doesn't remember 18, Raj. My dad remembers the other Grand Slams that I lost in the final. I've been in about, what, 34 or 30 something, 34, 35 Grand Slam finals. And he doesn't count the 18 that I won. He counts the other ones that I lost. He goes, you lost that one.
But you have some memories of some of your best matches in your mind, you know, like you'd ask an actor, Apka, which was the best movie? Like in your head, which was the best winning? Of course, all the matches that you won will always remain with you. But some matches that you'll always cherish.
Winning Wimbledon in 1990, my first Grand Slam I ever won, was the one of the real defining moments in my life, because it proved to me that all the hard work was worth it. After that, I've won Wimbledon, I think, 5 times. And one of my favorite Wimbledon titles to win, I actually have a picture of that, is that one.
I knew that. I guessed as much. You know?
And that's the 2015 mixed doubles title with Martina Hingis. That year in 2015, we went on to win 3 of the 4 Grand Slams. And then we completed the career Grand Slam in 2016 at the French Open. But this one was one of my favorite Grand Slams to win. And Raj, I think you remember this clearly, but it's the best catch you've ever caught in your entire life. That's the catch right there, where Raj Nayak, right here, the winning ball at Wimbledon 2015, I was on the opposite end of the royal box. And just at the opposite end of the royal box, I won the match point, but I still had a ball in my pocket. So I pulled that ball out, and I was probably about, I would say about 100 yards or 100 meters away from Raj, and I dropped the ball and I hit it from there, and it went sailing just right at him and was going over his head. And he actually leaned back there, and he caught the ball in the family box, in the player's box. So that's Raj Nayak with my winning ball.
But what you haven't told them is then the commentator said, "Who's that man?" And then the other commentator sitting next to him said, "That's Leander's dad." Do you remember that?
That's exactly that. In fact, as I was showing you that picture, Ayana, my daughter, was just messaging, and I've got to thank you and Sagari for looking after Ayana in school. Sagari, Raj's wife, Sagari, who's sister to me, was my daughter Ayana's first class teacher at the Dhirubhai Ambani International School. And I'm so grateful to the Ambanis and the DAIS school for doing such a great job with all the kids, and especially to Sagari, who helps me look after Ayana. She's been fantastic. So that was that. And yes, the next morning, when after winning Wimbledon, Raj and Sagari and myself went down shopping. I think they went to Topshop, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, in Oxford Street.
Oxford Street. And we were sitting at a cafe, and Raj and myself don't like shopping too much. And we're sitting at a cafe and catching up about the match and catching up about life. And I was quizzing Raj about, you know, his philosophies of turning into an entrepreneur. And we were sipping some coffee, and a bunch of Englishmen walked by and said, "Hey, that's the Wimbledon champion and his dad."
Yeah, I remember.
Raj was pissed off. He was so upset.
I'm sure the viewers are watching, and do I look like Leander's dad? No.
I don't have those good looks that you have, Raj.
Remember that. I'll always
I
remember
don't have that sophisticated salt and pepper look that Mr. Nayak has.
that.
Raj, cheerful.
Thank you. So Lee, you just spoke about Ayana, and I know how close you are to her. So tell me, I mean, what's your relationship? How much time do you spend? And what's she planning to do? What's her future?
Greatest thing I've ever done in my life, Raj. As you and Sagari and the gang know, I've never been married. In 2003, I was in the MD Anderson Cancer Research Center, diagnosed with a tumor in my head, and that was the day after I won Wimbledon. I think for the fourth time, for the third time with Martina Navratilova. And then while I was at the MD Anderson, the doctors told me three things. That one, I would never ever run again. So when I came out at the end of 2003, I haven't stopped running since. Two, they told me I'd never, grow my hair back again, and I did, and I grew a long samurai ponytail. And the third thing they told me was I'd never have a kid. So I always wanted to have a kid. I always wanted to, test my DNA and make sure that, the skill sets that my parents have taught me, that I love children, as you guys know. I just love kids, and whether it's the orphanage where I have 10,000 kids and look after them, or whether it's children around the world, to use my platform and to use my brand to create opportunity for kids around the world, especially at home here in India, is a journey that I just love doing. It's the greatest joy. So with Ayana, she was born on the 3rd of April, 2006. And I remember the week she was born, I was playing Davis Cup in Bombay against Pakistan. And I was sleeping at the hospital at Breach Candy, and just to make sure that Ria and her were doing fine. And yet at the same time, I was coming all day into Davis Cup and training with the team. Well, I won the 5th match in Davis Cup that weekend. But over the years, I've taken Ayana with me to Wimbledon. I've taken her to the Olympics in Beijing. She's traveled with me, and she has her own personal equation with the Williams sisters when I play at the Washington Castles, or she, Novak Djokovic gave her a jade pendant as a good luck charm. And I guess it's actually paid some dividends there, because over the years of Ayana being around my environment to see how professional sport is done, just as I did with my father, Ayana sprung a surprise on me a year ago, and she turned around and she goes, "Papa, I want to be an Olympic champion." And I was like, "You mean you just want to play tennis, right?" And she goes, "No, Papa, stop joking. I want to be a professional tennis player." And I'm like, "You want to be like a college player, right?" And she goes, "Papa, stop joking. I want to be a professional tennis player."
Wow.
And I kept it a secret.
Can you show that picture again? Closer, yeah.
So I've kept it under wraps for many months now, and I just look at those eyes and I look at that posture, and it's amazing how Ayana is growing up beautifully, and in that there are many people to thank who actually do some great work with her coaches, her trainers, and things like that. And one of the big responsibilities that Ria and myself have as parents is to give Ayana the best opportunity we can. So for me, I will always support a child's dream. I will always support a child, and use my platform to give Ayana the best opportunity in the world that she can get to be a good human being. And I think that's the real test, is that not everybody can be a Wimbledon champion, or not everybody can be an Olympic champion, but I think being a good human being is really important, and sport is a great lesson in that. So the best thing I've ever done in my life is to have a kid, and I can't wait to have a few more.
Yeah. So of all the people you played, which was the Jodi, or which are the teammates whom you really enjoyed playing with? Or
Thank you for rephrasing that question, because you were going to get me into trouble. Who's your favorite? I'd be dead.
No, I'm not going to ask you that.
But really, I think the joys of
because you played for 30 years, so you had you played with different people in 3 different decades.
That's right. I think there is one record out there, which is winning Wimbledon in the 90s, winning Wimbledon in the 2000s, then winning it in the 2010s, and then winning it in the 2015s. So basically 1990, 2003, 2010, and 2015. Those were the, and then, yeah, 2015. So those were the years that I won Wimbledon. And that's one record. But coming back to it, my favorite partners, the thing that I like the best, Raj, is I've had 164 different partners in men's doubles and mixed doubles. And the part that I like a lot is about reinventing. I feel that in this world, a lot of us want to change other people to our opinions. We want to change other people to the way we think in life or the way we want to do things. But the fun part that I've had is actually changing myself to adapt to playing with these other different partners. I think it's really important to be a student of life and to be a student of your craft, to be able to go out there and bring the sum of two individuals with different ideologies, with different mindsets, with different systems, and different mechanisms to creating success. I don't believe there is one way to success. I believe there are many. And to be able to share that with different partners and then be successful has been one of my favorite journeys. But out of all of them, there have been some great partnerships and there have been some great friendships. Martina Hingis, Martina Navratilova, both the Martinas have become really, really dear friends of mine. And this is a picture of Martina Navratilova and myself at the flea market in Goa. After we had won one Grand Slam, she wanted to come to Goa. So I brought her here and we had such a great time. I got to show her my family house down there, and I got to take her down to the flea market where she bought a lot of trinkets and things. And we had a great time. She's one of my favorites of all time. I think Martina Navratilova epitomizes what any athlete or human being can be. Not only is she a 21-time Wimbledon champion, 21 times,
wow,
and won so many Grand Slams and been number one in the game for years, but she actually is a great human being. She's a woman of her word. She stands for things she believes in. And to migrate from former Czechoslovakia to America and sleep on Chris Evert Lloyd's sofa and then get her citizenship in America and stand for all things good and right for the human world shows how a great human being Martina Navratilova is. So very blessed to have both the Martinas apart from these 164 partners I've had in my life.
I remember we had a good time with Martina Hingis, both in London and when she came down to Mumbai. You know?
That's exactly right. I remember I showed you the Australian Open trophy, and when we came back, and you stood right between both of us, and you were holding the trophy in your hand.
Yeah, I have that picture somewhere with me.
How's my Wimbledon trophy doing, Raj?
Oh, it's good. Now, you want to tell that story as well?
No, I'm going to let you tell it, especially Heathrow Airport. I'm going to let you tell that one.
Yeah. But for those of you who don't know, when Lee won his Wimbledon, and he said, Raj, can you do me a favor? Can you take this trophy back to India? And I said, okay. First I thought I'll put it in my suitcase. It doesn't fit in. So I had to carry it. And at the airport, the security wouldn't let me take a huge box and you carry it in your hand, and metal, right? So finally I had to tell them it's Wimbledon trophy. And they were like, really? Wimbledon trophy? And then they wanted me to open and show it. And when I opened and showed it to them, they were so excited. The entire security at Heathrow wanted pictures with the cup, which I had to if I wanted to carry it along with me. And then it was so heavy that I had to buy a 2-pound trolley to bring it. And for all the trouble that I've gone through, I made sure that the trophy is still with me in my house.
I think Sagri had something to do with that 2-pound trophy, that 2-pound trolley for the trophy.
Yeah, so it's still lying with me, but you can always take it back whenever you want, Lee. Yeah, we are safekeeping it for you.
Exactly. And this is the trophy, guys. That's the trophy right there. And that trophy might have my name and Martina Hingis' name on it. Yeah. But it's got the Nayaks and every single Indian out there. That belongs to all of us. But also my most stylish Nayak was also there at Wimbledon with us. That's Atiya Nayak. That is the morning of the Wimbledon final with my lucky sweater that Raj is wearing, his green sweater, and it's fleece and it's really comfortable, but that's the sweater that he's worn to most of my matches where I've never ever lost a match. But that's Raj Nayak, the stylish Nayak, also my rehab partner, and we do rehab together with Webber. And also, no matter how many Grand Slams I've won, no matter how many Olympics I've won, no matter how many Davis Cups I've won, Atiya Nayak makes it a point to make me her private photographer. At every function we go to, instead of being in front of the camera, I'm behind it. And there are so many pictures of the paparazzi taking pictures of me, taking pictures of Atu. And I'm always behind the phone, behind the camera, and the angle's always wrong. It's always
She's watching somewhere.
that's exactly why I'm saying it. I'm surprised she hasn't jumped in yet. but Atu is one of my favorite muses to photograph. I think she's just magical in and has so much of courage in embarking on her dreams. And I cannot wait to watch her first movie. I'll be the first person to buy a ticket and be right out there. I know you'll give me a ticket, Raj, but I'm going to buy a ticket and come out and watch Atu's first movie. I cannot wait for it to come out.
Fingers crossed. I mean, yeah, but she's pursuing her dreams. So Lee, speaking about movies, you did a film debut, right? You acted in a movie. Tell us about
I knew you
that.
were going there.
I've been waiting to watch it, and I want to watch it with you. But tell me about the movie. What was the name?
I knew you were going there.
What's the name of the movie?
Well, as we started, and I said, I love theater. I always wanted to be a theater actor. I always wanted to go to West End or go to Broadway and act in theater, because I think live performances are magical. But I had a bucket list, Raj, that I always wanted to act in a movie. And why not? We Indians love Bollywood. We love everything mystical and magical about the big screen. And I used to get a lot of offers in the 90s, and while I was winning my Olympics in 96, I got an offer to do a biopic on my own story, and I've waited for that until I came to the end of my career. But the script of Rajdhani Express was phenomenal. I had some amazing actors that were originally announced in the movie. Sir Paresh Rawal was supposed to be in it. Dia Mirza was supposed to be in it. Tabu was supposed to be in it. There were the list just went on, and to name a few. And I just thought, with Paresh Rawalji there, and Dia there, and Tabu there, and the other guys were there, Gulshan Grover, Mukesh Rishi, they went very specific with the whole thing. That I thought that these great actors, Pareshji and the gang and Tabu could actually hold the movie up with their expertise. That would give me a chance to kind of just weave my way within there and tell a story and look at something new. I love entertaining people. I love doing things that I'm passionate about. And I did all my stunts myself. I did all the tough parts myself. And when I went on the sets, I suddenly realized how big the film industry was. Because with one movie of Rajdhani Express, we had 400 people working on sets. And that was just our, movie. I cannot even imagine how many hundreds and thousands and millions of people, how many lives Bollywood creates. And that is something that I gained a lot of respect for. So one of the rituals that I had whenever I came on set before my shoot started, I would serve everyone tea personally. And 400 people there was a lot of tea being poured. And the fun part about it was that the connectivity, Raj, about people, the human skills. And I think that's one of the greatest things we have in India, is barring culture, barring caste, barring religion, barring the color of our skin, around the world, we have so much of dangerous stuff going on. But I think to entertain people and bring happiness to people in different mediums is a real joy. So Rajdhani Express was a bucket list. I kicked that bucket really hard, and I really enjoyed it. I had a blast. And
as long as you had a blast, as long as you enjoyed and ticked off. But
exactly.
And you have a lot of Bollywood friends with whom you play football on a regular basis.
Yes, amazingly talented people. I love playing football with them. The all-star team, Bunty Walia and Abhishek Bachchan and Ranbir and Dhoni, and a lot of us, the actors, and I was going to say a lot of us actors, and I rephrased. But a lot of the actors and athletes, we come together to, bring happiness to humanity. And the slogan that we have with the All-Stars is playing for humanity. And I think it's a great thing that Bunty and Abhishek and the gang do. And it's really fun to enjoy them. We went to Singapore to play against the ex-Singapore national team. And believe it or not, we actually beat them 2-1. And
Wow.
it was just real fun. Bunty keeps organizing these matches periodically. The boys played against the national cricket team, against Virat and Dhoni and Yuvraj and the gang. But unfortunately, I missed that match. I was actually running off playing some tournament somewhere along the world. But I can't wait until some form of normalcy can come back to our life right now, dealing with the virus and the lockdown and things. And yeah, football is and sport is a fun way to actually bring life back to some sort of normalcy while you're practicing social distancing.
And a lot of sports people are now getting into golf. I mean, you've been playing it as well.
Yes, I love my golf. I find the creativity of golf in the way that you go around the course, just creating shots and navigating your way around different tracks around the world. Some have a lot of water on it, some are up and down like links, some have a lot of trees on it. And the creativity for golf is very similar to the creativity of tennis. It's not just about winning a point, it's how you do it. And I think to shoot a low round in golf takes a lot of course management, takes a lot of not just technical skill, not just physical ability, but it takes a great mental aptitude to be able to stay balanced over the 3.5, 4 hours that it takes you to get around the course. And golf has caught me by imagination. And it's very similar to tennis because a lot of the country clubs you go to, a lot of the corporates that I know, they love their tennis and they love their golf. So it's a great way for me to actually interact with people. You know, you have their undivided attention for 3.5 hours. And if you can't close a deal in 3.5 hours, that deal ain't never going to happen. But I think sport is my business. Sport is something that is my passion and my way of life. But to be able to bring happiness to people and create opportunities through sport and through sports education is the journey that I'm on.
What's your handicap, Lee, just out of curiosity?
Myself, I'm just kidding. But I actually got down to a scratch a few years ago. And I basically feel like golf is a sport that you have to practice every single day. So I'd say that today I'm playing off about a solid 6, solid 7, somewhere around there. But at one point I was playing so much of golf that I actually got myself down to a scratch. And I just love it. I really, really love it. My dad keeps teasing me about getting into, senior golf, getting into pro-ams and senior golf, and he keeps pushing me to stay healthy and stay fit and finding new ways to reinvent myself. But I found a great way in golf to make some great friends. I think that people who play sport generally are pretty evolved people, they see life quite whole. And golf's a really cool sport, a lot of fun.
You play football, you play golf, you play tennis. Have you played cricket? I know you said you played in school, college as well.
That's right. I pretty much play every sport, Raj. That's part of, just having these athletic genes that I've been born with. I love to scuba dive. One of my favorite holidays ever was with Sagri and yourself and Masaba there in the Maldives. It was just fantastic fun. Going diving, and the marine life is something that I really love. I'm more of a beach guy than a mountain guy. I've never been allowed to ski or do downhill skiing or jump out of a plane because of all the insurances and stuff. But deep sea diving is something I love. I love the turtles. I love the dolphins. Very fascinated by the sharks. But I think marine life just down below the water is just really beautiful. So some of my best getaways are either to the ocean or on safari.
That was an amazing holiday. I'll always cherish that holiday. We need to do it again. Once all this lockdown is over, we have to go back. We must go back. So tell me, I mean, this Olympics didn't happen this year, right? I mean, that was your one last roar. So
one last roar.
When it happens, I mean, I'm told it's shifted now for next year, right? Is that correct? Am I correct?
That's exactly right.
So would you give it a shot next year?
That's really the question of the day, Raj. I think that right now, when we look at COVID-19 and we look at the lockdown and we look at so many amazing people out there who are fighting to keep the community safe, I think that in a profession that I have, or all the professional athletes, the globalness of our sport means that you have to travel, airports, hotels, stadiums, contact with people. And as India's borders are locked down right now, we're not going to be able to conduct our business until the vaccine comes out. The US Open has just announced they're going to go ahead with the US Open. The French Open have announced that they're postponing it to October of 2020. And otherwise, we'd be in London right now for Wimbledon. But I feel that just as they've done it smartly, where they've cut the draw size down. We normally used to have 128 singles players in both the men and women, and we used to have 64 doubles teams in both the men and women. Now, for 2020, the US Open is proposing 64 singles players and 24 doubles draw. And they've kind of shrunk the draw so drastically that I don't know how they're going to give out professional points.
Yeah, but
ATP points or WTA points when you have such a small draw.
That doesn't make sense, right? Because a lot of people won't be able to participate. It will be like mostly the US players playing within the United States. And like you said, giving points is going to be a challenge. And if international players, I mean, depends, like India is locked down. If international players can't travel, like you said, then will the tournament really have that same, what do you say?
Oomph, that same stature, that same Grand Slam champion of 2020, is he or she going to be the same as the Grand Slam champion of 2019 or 2021? I don't think so. I think that to conduct a smaller draw this way, this size, it's more like almost an exhibition. It'll be very tough to, as you so rightly said, it'll be very tough for every single athlete and tennis player around the world to travel to the US Open.
Because I think that quarantine, all kinds of things, right?
You've got 14 days quarantine, and before the US Open, they're trying to play in Winston-Salem and they're trying to play in Washington, D.C. So the quarantine becomes a big issue, and also the borders being closed becomes an issue. So as much as they're doing rescue flights right now, my humble opinion, and it's just from my own perspective, I'm going to wait until the vaccine comes out and that we all get the antivirus before we travel extensively. I think that when you look at world travel, and whether it's airports, whether it's train stations, whether it's hotels, whether it's stadiums, it is going to be very tough to continue a global sport, a global profession until the virus comes out. I think that when you look at Bundesliga, the German football league, when you look at La Liga, the Spanish league, when you look at the EPL, which is one of my favorites, the English Premier League, it all happens within one country. So the La Liga players stay within Spain. The EPL players stay within England. And I think that if tennis has a way to actually have one arena in America, one arena in Europe, one arena in Australasia, then you could have events there. But to have the global athletes traveling is going to be difficult. I think the Roland Garros, the French Open, is in a unique geographical location, because being in Paris, you're going to have a lot of the European players who could just jump in cars and drive to Roland Garros and play there. But even that is going to be a big challenge. So at this stage, I'm sitting back. I'm concentrating on all the other aspects of my post-tennis career and all the other magical things that I'm looking to do. And I've lent on you, Raj, many a time for your advice, for your opinion, for your thought process, because your ideologies are so unique. Your systems, your mind is such a brilliant brain that it's great to run ideas off of you. And we've differed in a few thought processes. We've agreed in quite a few, but the respect I have for you is tremendous, because being a self-made man from a pedigree of freedom fighters of our country, and the way you've navigated your career and your life, you're definitely one of the people that I love dearly. I look up to. I bounce ideas off you for your thought process. But as I navigate from tennis into post-tennis, sports education is something that I think is huge. For me, I love kids, and I feel that 75 to 80% of our sporting talent is all in rural areas. So I feel that a lot of our talent, not just in sport, but all over India, is all in the rural areas. And to take that vehicle that I've nurtured over 30 years and to create opportunity for children all around our country, that they can become athletes, that they can educate themselves, that they can better their opportunities in their lives using sport as a vehicle, is something that really excites me. So that's something I'm enjoying to embark on.
That's nice, Lee. I was going to ask you, what are your future plans? I mean, you said most of it. That's nice, and I hope you succeed. And you got so much to give back to society in so many ways. Especially, there will be many people wanting to pursue. Uh, I mean, you don't have to, because you're a sportsman, so you can definitely contribute in raising the level of sports in this country. And I love your idea of going rural. I mean, I think there's a lot of talent out there. We in India, we don't have this. We don't scout for talent, especially sports talent. And I think if we put a system in place to scout talent, we'll be able to find some very good talent in every different sports across the country. I know a lot of youngsters who play tennis. I'm sure they must be watching, because I've got a few messages saying, so what would be your advice to them, if just like that? I mean, people who are aspiring, I mean, they see you as their role model. They want to be Leander Paes. They want to be Martina Hingis. How do they pursue? What do they need to do? What's your advice to the young tennis players?
Raj, I think just both our examples are very clear on how we can, with a lot of desire, with a lot of passion for excellence, also by choosing the right team around us and using our God-given skills, using our skills that our parents have nurtured in us with the environment that we were brought up in, that if you have the desire and you work really hard, you can achieve anything in the world. And I'm not just talking about sport. I'm saying that if we have a really good ear to listen to our people around us, if we have a good brain and we keep working on that muscle to keep pushing the boundaries on how we can use the opportunities that we have to create a big difference to our lives and to others, I think anybody can be champions. Really, if I had to get a little more specific, I was not born a talented tennis player. I taught myself how to play tennis. I still have tremendous weaknesses in tennis. And I basically am able to hide them because of my speed, because of my agility, and because of my mental aptitude. I'm able to make sure that my strengths definitely outmatch my weaknesses. And then at the end of the day, the mental aptitude of realizing that I just had to beat the opponent on the other side on any given day didn't mean I had to be perfect every day. It just meant I had to be better than the opponent on the other side. So I think that what I'm trying to get at, that if Raj Nayak and Leander Paes can work hard and become champions who we are, I think anybody in the world with a lot of hard work and belief in themselves, can become champions. Part of what I love about you, Raj, is your belief in yourself, the way that you encourage your two daughters, the way you encourage your family, the way that you give your loved ones like me around you the best of you every time we meet. The way you conduct yourself as a human being speaks of the Raj cheerful brand. And I think that itself is so much to learn from. I learn a lot from you by just being around you. So I just watch what you do. I ask the right questions, and I try and be a student of life around you so that I can be the best I can be.
Lee, I must tell you something. I wish you were my guest on every show, because my ego has gone through the roof. I'm feeling this show is about you. It's not about me. But thank you for all your compliments. I mean, I appreciate it. So tell me, I won't hold you for too long. So you spoke a lot about happiness, if you notice. So what is your definition of happiness? What are things that make you happy?
I had a dream as a young boy, Raj. And my dream as a young boy was to emulate my father, right? And
is he around? Is he at home?
Yeah, he was around. He was sitting right here. He's just walked off into his room. I'll get him as soon as he comes back.
Okay.
But that was my dream, right? To emulate my father in winning a medal. And I think that Chotu Lee, as I call him, that's Chotu Lee.
Wow.
Right? I think Chotu Lee was onto something. So that's suppose at the age of 2 in my parents' house. And that's winning my Olympic medal, the moment I won it, match point. I think Chotu Lee had something. So what is, my dreams really excite me a lot, to work hard and persevere through the hard days. what brings me happiness is my family, my parents, my sisters, my loved ones. Ayana brings me tremendous happiness. Being able to create lives using my platform or my shoulders to get people to hop on and come along for the ride of what my beliefs are or what my business is brings me a lot of happiness. But I think in the world that we live in today, Raj, there's a lot of hardships. There's economical hardships, there's health hardships, there's caste and race and color hardships. And I think that if we can use our platforms, if we can use our brands and go out there and bring happiness to the world, that would bring me tremendous happiness. To make sure that we can feed as many children as we can, to give water to as many children as we can, to give education to as many kids as we can, to give a vocation teach children vocation so that they can stand on their own 2 feet and they don't become liabilities to society and then be shunned along the way. These are the hardships of the world we face today. And I think that as COVID continues, these hardships are going to get even greater. We can talk about the George Floyds of the world. We can talk about the migrant workers here in India. We can talk about top brass in the corporate offices getting laid off because their salaries are too expensive for corporates to continue while business is locked down. I think bringing happiness to people, Raj, brings me the greatest joy in my life. And in any way that I can, I try and strive to do that.
That's great, Lee. On that note, such noble thoughts. I mean, I wish more people thought like you, behaved like you, and I've seen you acted like you as well in real life, doing things, not just talking, but walking the talk. Thank you so much. You've been a wonderful guest, and I wish we had more time. I would like to thank our viewers. First of all, apologize for the late start today, but thank you for watching Fridays Live with Raj Nayak, and please come back and give me all your love. If you missed this, you can always watch us on YouTube at Raj Cheerful. Actually, please go and subscribe because we need all the followers there. Great, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you again with our next guest next week. Thank you, Lee. Thank you so much.
Love you, Raj.
Love you, my friend.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Love you.